The Strange Side. My wife of 22 years admitted to having a 2.5-year affair on May 18. We have 2 children, 10 and 15. I am really struggling to cope. I don't know whether to leave. I am telling myself I don't want to leave because of our children, but I am not sure if I am making excuses for myself and that I haven't the courage to walk out. I would like to just say a little about what went on. 18 months ago, my wife said she wanted us to part ways. I took it hard but asked if we could sell the house and move on. She would not do this and kept me hanging on. I didn't understand why she wanted to part and also why she wouldn't actually do anything about it. She treated me fairly badly, and I remember describing the relationship as abusive on several occasions. Don't get me wrong, I can give as good as I get. Generally, however, I am easygoing and fairly passive. Wind it forward to March 11th. We lay in bed and my wife said she has something to tell me. I have been in love with another man for 2.5 years, she said. It's over, nothing physical happened. Will you forgive me? I remember I shook when she told me and that she was shaking too. I hugged her and said we would get through it together and that I would help her if she missed him. I knew who it was, although she flatly denied it was the man I had suspected she had a crush on for 5 years. She told me she had been terrified I would walk out when she told me and that I was a very good man for staying and being so understanding. She was visibly relieved. I want to make it work between us again. Put it behind us, she said. You are such a good man. She spoke. I didn't know at the time, but she was back in his bed 2 days later. Over the next 3 weeks she would text me and tell me how much she had made a mistake and that she wanted me to stay, etc. I was to find out later that she saw him for certain up until April 3rd. I think she continued after that, but she has consistently denied it. Needless to say, I couldn't make any of the facts stick together and it culminated in me going to the other man's house around April 8th. She admitted that morning it was the guy I always knew it was. She still insisted nothing physical had happened and said if I met him, he would say she threw herself at him, etc. I did not go to confront him, just to ask what had gone on. This man has 6 children by 6 different women, lives on his own, but has a long-term girlfriend. I think you may get the picture. No one was in at his house and I drove home. She had rather predictably warned him I might be on the way over, although I had said nothing. Nothing moved on until the 17th of May. I kept asking what had gone on and saying nothing made sense. She denied time and again that anything physical had happened. After an argument on the night of the 17th, she admitted she had kissed him. Then on the morning of the 18th, that they had gotten up to dirty things in the car. Then by midday, I had tried to go to work and come home, unable to do anything without crying. Admitted they had slept together no more than 5 times. Needless to say, a whopper of a lie. She had to go to work by 3 p.m. and left me in bed shaking, unable to do anything, although bizarrely we had made love constantly until that time. I found out later that as soon as she left the house, she promptly rang him and chatted for an hour, following it up with a text and another phone call after she finished work. I suspect this is all too common a tale. She didn't tell me anything. I had to tell her and could see from her reaction whether it was true. They didn't visit his house, she said, except it was always there. They used a condom, she said, except they didn't. One of the kickers has been that she wouldn't ever go on the pill for me and I ended up having the snip. For him, she went straight on the pill and ended up having contraceptive injections. She has always been ultra paranoid about HIV and other STDs, so this was all the more shocking. There are lots of things about her relationship with him that she did for him would not do for me in our 24 years together, some physical, some not. We spent most of Saturday and Sunday in bed making love. Both of us seemed to have an insatiable desire for each other. On Sunday the 20th of May I sent the other man a text saying that we must catch up. It would be good to catch up sometime. Within 1 minute he was trying to ring me. I answered on his 3rd attempt. I calmly told him I knew what had been going on and he immediately denied everything and told me I had gotten mixed up. I don't know what she's told you, but I was just a good friend to her. I told him, calmly, that there was a lot of evidence that wasn't the case and that I would be naming him as co-respondent in our divorce and that this could have financial implications. I admit to feeling pleasure at the panic in his voice as he denied the affair more strenuously. I told him I would not proceed with the divorce if he didn't speak with my wife again, and we left it at that. 2 minutes later he rang me back again, denying anything had happened and offering to meet me. Now one of the things that my wife admitted to being attracted to is this man's connections with less than law-abiding people who could get violent and sort people out. I politely declined a meeting. Seriously, I was super calm throughout the whole thing and said between his denials, look, man to man, we both know what's gone on. Just leave her alone and that will be that. I know he is very sensitive about money and has been worried about his girlfriend finding out about his being with my wife, so figured the threat of legal papers would scare him. This did appear to work. My wife got an HIV test on the Monday and tested for other STDs. All are okay as far as I know, but to my shame, I tore the results up in anger before reading them. I told her if she had HIV or anything that I would stand by her. I asked her to ring me if she was missing him. I have found the emotions very difficult to deal with. I asked her to get her medical records, and this is when she spilled the beans about the contraceptive injections. I would never have found out otherwise. She also admitted to getting the morning after pill a few times and having at least one pregnancy test. She still hasn't, however, gotten those records. We spent every spare minute in bed together and it was fantastic for both of us, as far as I know. We began counseling on the Wednesday, although this was just an assessment. Thursday, we spent in bed. Friday, we spent mostly in bed and then went out and had slept together in some woods where we had done the same 17 years before. Another counseling session on the Wednesday, and then I had to leave for 2 weeks with our youngest child to see my brother in a very remote location. Those 2 weeks away were hell for me. I could only contact my wife occasionally and for a few days not at all. I asked questions but she refused to answer them as it was too difficult. I pleaded with her as we had already realized that it made things much easier on me if she simply told the truth. Again, this seems to be common. It was so hurtful being 1,000 of miles away and with her simply refusing to answer anything. I was, and am, convinced that the affair was over and this didn't worry me at all. The worst was traveling when I was left with my own thoughts. I started to dread being on my own. Although I was with family, I didn't like talking about what had happened, although they knew. On returning, I felt distant, as though something had snapped whilst I was away. It was so very hard being in a remote location with no meaningful contact with my wife. We did talk occasionally, but she clammed up. She did keep texting me, when I could receive them, to say she loved me and that she wanted it to work, and I told her I appreciated this. We continued to be intensely physical. One night we literally did not sleep. I am 43 and she is 47. Anyway, this is turning into a short novella. I have tried to leave a few times and she physically prevented me by standing in front of me and going as far as letting my tires down. She shakes when she thinks I am going to leave and goes into a visible panic. Having said that, she did after March 11th, and I know she was with him then. The counselor seems obsessed about rebuilding the relationship, and I still feel stuck trying to get to grips with what my wife did. I couldn't take part in the first 10 minutes of last week's session as I was crying uncontrollably. Well, kind of. It was stifled but obvious. It was 2 weeks ago I figured out that she had been physically aggressive with him, and that 99% of the relationship was her going to his house at about 11 p.m., telling me she was at a friend's, watching TV for an hour, then bonding for an hour or two. For her, not sleeping with him was not an option, and the jabs had stopped her periods, so it was always on the cards. It was only yesterday I figured out that long gap between her telling me on March 11th and seeing him for what she said was the last time on April 3rd. I am convinced the only reason it is over is because I turned up on the guy's drive on April 8th, but she won't really tell me what happened at the end. It just fell apart, she says, although I do know she was becoming jealous and possessive about his other girlfriend, and at one point followed him when he said he had there and then confronted him about it. She says he didn't like that. Finding out about that gap seemed to set me back by a week. It was only last week I found out her brothers, whom we live next door to, knew for at least 2 years, as did our nephews and nieces. This is a good example of my current problem, as I specifically asked her how long her brothers had known. These men I thought were close to me for the last 22 years. She told me 6 months tops, and then I remembered a comment a nephew made at her father's funeral 18 months ago. It really upset me in the first place that her brothers knew, and it crushed me to think they and the rest of her family had known for so long. The point is, this is after I have continued to stress how important the truth is, and I honestly haven't ever thrown the truth back at her. I feel like I can't move on until I know what really happened, but I am becoming frozen, terrified of thinking in case I discover anything further, and too scared to ask her anything as she just continues to lie. To her they are small things, but to me they aren't, as it is the lie that hurts, not the facts at hand. I feel like I am sinking and looking for hope. Any positive comments or suggestions would be greatly appreciated. I know many on here will have gone through far worse. I do appreciate that it seems fairly certain the affair is now over, and that my wife does certainly want me back with all her heart, for now. She did not tell me she had been sleeping with him. She told me it was not physical. I am sure the affair is over because she has either been in my bed or at work where I can verify where she is. Whilst I was away, I had a GPS in her car and it confirmed she didn't go anywhere near where he lives. He is a coward and will not go anywhere near my wife again. He used her for free bonding on demand, and of that I am as certain as I can be. The OMSGF knows already. She got with him by having an affair whilst he was with the last woman about 4 years ago. In this case, she will laugh at me. If she doesn't know I am not going to destroy someone else's life for nothing, what can she possibly tell me? This man will have another woman already. He has no interest in my wife, and I have tested this since in other ways that I will not go into on here. Comment: you're like 43 and your wife is 47, right? You've been together for 24 years, right? You wouldn't have known about any of this unless she had told you, right? Think about that for a minute. Your wife has probably devalued your masculinity and attractiveness for a long, long time. It's part of the program that leads to the affair. It's been shown repeatedly that women lose interest in sleeping with H the longer the marriage goes on. Researchers can even correctly guess the length of the marriage if they know the bonding frequency. This may not even be her first affair. In fact, tell your sons you're researching your family heritage and get some DNA swabs from them. You've been trained and beta-washed by your wife, and the fact that you believe she was in love with OM for 2 years with no bonding is the proof. The hug you gave is the pudding. Testosterone starts declining at 25 and even more so around 40. Get yours checked. This may be the reason your WW sought out another man and had the kind of bonding with him that's off the table for you. This situation is bad, but it's an opportunity to get rid of your adulterous wife age 47 and her corrupt family. While the divorce is going through the process, get yourself in shape. I mean ripped. Testosterone supplementation will help. Once on the market, you'll find you're competing with obese doughboys, but you should be able to land a 35-year-old. Maybe even one with some morals and integrity. A fair trade, I'd say. DNA, man. OP responds, "You are spot on about her putting me down as a man. I said to her many times that she was emasculating me. To be fair, there is now nothing off the table for me as far as bonding goes, but that probably goes without saying. I can get a 35-year-old as I am. I have been offered it in the recent past, but, being married, turned it down. There is more to life than ripped abs, and I don't want a woman who wants a man with them. My testosterone levels I am sure are fine, and I know the children are mine because of some unrelated testing that went on when they were both born. This morning I canceled the counseling sessions, and I am getting a lawyer to sort this mess out. There is quite a bit I haven't mentioned in these posts to do with how I have been treated in the past by the wife and her family, but I am grateful for everyone's input as it has helped me see what a fool I have been. We got rid of the counselor. She was rug sweeping for my WW and basically not interested in helping me get over what my WW did, although it took me another 4 weeks to figure that out. The counseling became a very big problem for me in the end, but I have found another now who seems to understand the problem better. I did move her, and one night it got very close to being a very bad outcome. I am quite alpha when I need to be. I'm fairly big and strong enough to throw her any place I choose. She has groveled, she has begged, been on her hands and knees, offered to do anything. I haven't enjoyed that, but she has shown how much she wants me and done it many times in the last 3 months. If she doesn't do what I expect, I go silent until she does. Almost a year later, we are now divorced, living in the same house. My ex-wife still goes hysterical if I talk about our separation, which I am slowly but surely moving towards with the help of my lawyer. Looking back at my original post, it looks so much like all of the other new ones we see every day of the week. It is heartbreaking when another me pops up, not believing their spouse could do this to them, being trickle truth, disrespected. I've said it all along, but had she been truthful with me, even a few months in, we might have saved things, but she couldn't be. If one cheating spouse can read that and it makes them understand, then that would be brilliant. I honestly believe she can't stand him. I also believe she wants me back. If I just smile at her, her face lights up. We are living together kind of as man and wife. We are still intimate, but things are now pretty much on my terms. I am moving towards separation but leaving the door open, but she needs to do more for anything other than separation. I don't know how long it will take. It's messy and expensive but doable and happening. I obviously still think about it a lot of the time and feel that some piece of the jigsaw, is missing. I know I don't want a relationship. I wrote marriage and had to delete it, where she is beholden to me, or where I am resentful of her, which is why it cannot currently work. I have felt and still feel that some sort of epiphany is required. Despite her genuine tears, guilt, regret, etc., I somehow don't think she really gets it. Maybe she can't. Maybe it is I who needs the epiphany. I can't accept the betrayal, the things she did for him but wouldn't for me. She will now, no argument, the lies. All the usual, but she was particularly calculating and always pretended to be naive, honest, etc. As I have already said, she lied again, then lied about the lies. The point is, I am making decisions for me for the first time in 25 years. I have gotten fitter, been drinking less, gone out more, all for me. If she asks for a commitment, I tell her that if she wants an answer now, the answer is no. We'll see how it works out, but my next relationship, whether with her or another woman, will be on different terms. In the worst of it, in the first few months I did move her. I was never violent and always in control, but I did physically pick her up and move her out of the way. That worked for a few seconds until she got right back up and stood in front of me again. I quickly learned that no matter how strong I was physically, she always held the upper hand. She didn't care what happened to her and the law was on her side. Being alpha is not being the strongest. I was always that, and I could have whipped the in a fight because I am also far more intelligent. Being alpha is about understanding the situation and controlling it so that you get what you want and, ultimately, don't care what others think. It's about plowing your own furrow and doing it without fists. Some think that it's about the strongest guy, but there will always be somebody stronger. Humans evolved because they had more intelligence, not bigger muscles. For me, the tragedy is that I finally won my ex-wife, which is what I always felt she wanted. However, I don't want the prize because somebody who values themselves so little as to judge their worth by the thoughts of others is not worth having in the first place. We were divorced in February. I am still living at home because finances don't allow me to move out. My ex-wife is still desperate for us to stay together, and I try to leave fairly regularly, last time being last week. My children become as distraught as the ex-wife if that happens, which, having more or less brought them up for the last 8 years, is traumatic for me. I have some options hopefully opening up for me in about a month in terms of leaving. I am in a far better place than I was 12 months ago and maybe for the first time in my life feel in control. I have a new job, I am a lot fitter and I have choices. There is no good that comes from infidelity, but I am hoping that I have made the best of a bad situation. I meant there was more to our relationship. She has not been a fantastic wife ever and, to be honest, not a great mother for a couple of years leading up to and during the affair. Now she is trying to mend it all, although she is remarkably selfish, bordering on a narcissist. I provided her with a dream marriage in many ways. Materially she wanted for nothing. We had holidays that are beyond the wildest dreams of most people, and we had experiences that, in some cases, only money can buy, and in some cases that money cannot buy. The more distance I am putting between me and the old marriage, the more I realize there was an enormous gap in terms of what she brought and what I brought. She accepts this now. It's part of how she now says she realizes what a fool she was. I finally got a major piece of the jigsaw last night. She admitted that she had a plan and what it was. As with all the other truths, I'd already figured it out and it was horrible, but it is a big relief to hear it confirmed. She always said that she just fell into the affair. That, despite being married with young children etc., that she didn't think about the future when she did it. Despite the fact that she made lists constantly about what she might do and left them all over the place. I wasn't looking, so I didn't find them until after D-Day. She contended that she hadn't thought beyond the stage of getting together with OM. I just wanted to hear it from her that she had thought ahead more than that. Why write endless lists if not? Now, as it happens, the lists were little more than a schoolgirl scribbling her name and the name of a boy on a piece of paper, but they were there. Given that she already knew the OM was a serial cheat and liar, it didn't make sense to me that she was throwing everything away and casting her lot in with this idiot with no plan C. I guess I've always been plan B. So finally, she told me she had thought if it didn't work out with him, he could help. A euphemism if I ever heard one. Her over when our marriage broke up and then she could find somebody else. She was using her affair as an exit affair. Something I knew all along, even if it didn't tally with her actions or facts, but neither of those are reliable indicators as to my ex-wife's likely behavior. So, there we have it. 12 months after D-Day 2, my ex-wife finally admitted why she had the affair and what she would have done had it not worked out. My comment: OP finally got the truth he wanted, but it was a bit late. Sometimes you don't need closure, because there are things you should never know. Story 2. Married for 10 years with 2 young kids. Recently relocated to another country. DH moved for work first and we joined a couple of months ago. Where to start? Well, something has changed. He has changed. Wife seems different and miserable all of a sudden. He has gone from a caring husband to distant acquaintance. We do not talk much at all. He looks serious and uninterested. I am trying my best to keep it together and try to engage with him, but it's not working. In addition to this, there are a bunch of things I am unhappy about. First, his close colleague. Next, his secretiveness, the way he ignores me and the way I react to it. It can go on. I feel miserable. What's going on? I know I have not given much information, but I am happy to provide more if needed. DH has been working here close to a year before we joined him. His close colleague is a male who is cheating on his wife with a woman half his age. DH knows this and he is the one who told me. I hate the fact he is still very close to this man. He picks DH to work every morning and sometimes there are female colleagues in the car. The annoying part is DH has never introduced them to me. They simply wait in the car. He hardly talks about his colleagues to me except this guy. I don't usually see his bank, credit card details. His pay has considerably increased since he moved and I am sure he is spending a bit more than usual. He does not like me touching his phone and it's locked. He has password protected his laptop and everything. We have had a few arguments in the last year over his family and we have been quite upset with each other. However, we usually patch up on that. I would say we are emotionally disengaged compared to how we were before he moved here. Our physical life has always been good, but after the second child it's different. It has increased, but I feel it's just bonding, no love. We are right now in a developing Asian country and I do not even know the location of his workplace. He does tell me where it is, but I don't know if I would go with 2 young kids. One thing I know for sure is women here will do anything to have an affair with expats. The thought alone makes me sick. He does not stay back after work. He comes home on time always. He loves his job. He took this job so that I can be a stay-at-home mom. He lies a lot usually and I have caught him on it a few times. Nothing serious so far though. He does not have FB account and I only have one friend, a neighbor with young children. She tells me scary stories of affairs that happen here. I am often busy with children, hardly have time. I am 31 and he is 38. I know his mother, so no surprises. Well, I married him knowing he lies, but not to this extent. When I first met my Mill, she did tell me he lies, so be careful. My H has been a great husband apart from his inability to own his mistakes and apologize in time until I joined him. Everything vanished after I moved in with him overseas. Well, anyway, the way he ignored me and the things he has hidden from me is good enough for me to leave him. He says he will not be able to live without us and is willing to do anything. He says I need to understand that my anger issues after the second child pushed him away. Throughout the mail he mentions he takes full responsibility for what has happened. He ended it with "I'm tendering resignation with immediate effect." I'm so confused. I don't know if I should believe him. I did not reply. I need details, but still I don't know if the pain I feel will ever go away. It's more painful today than ever. He really quiets his job. He texted me last night that he is flying home today and his brother is picking him. He reached a few hours ago. I wasn't prepared for this. He walked in and hugged me tight, which has not happened for some times. I did not react. The kids screamed in joy. His brother left shortly. He said he is back for good and is going to look for a job here. I just listened with occasional eye contact. He seemed happy and confident of not sure what. I asked him to give me some time to move my stuff into the spare room, but he said, "Oh, in that case I will stay in that room till you will let me in our room." I said thanks, moved on to make dinner. He has brought back quite a few bags and was unpacking everything in that room. Used the common bathroom which the kids use and stayed with kids. He just left the house. This is really hard. Seeing him has caused more pain and anger. I just feel like he needs to suffer. Call me evil, that's how I feel. But I'm not acting on that. I'm going to quickly get the kids in bed and lock myself in my room. I kind of encouraged him to take this job due to our financial status, as I had to quit when I got pregnant with the second one. We have clearly communicated what is okay and what is not before he went, and he fully agreed with me. Drinking with males friends is okay, females is not okay. Having fun with workers is not okay. Female friends are okay, but going out with them is not okay. Being too close to cheating colleague is not okay. I have asked him to be transparent about everything that happens so that I don't have to panic. He had not fulfilled his promises. I don't feel like I want to sort all of this mess. He is willing to let me and the kids have the house, and I plan to stay away from him till I figure out what I want. Right now, I don't want to work anything out with him. Today he offered to fully take care of the children and asked me to do whatever I want. I went out with my good friend, spent some time at the park sitting by myself. I felt so lonely. I have missed him so much for some times now. He has been emotionally absent, and I needed to know the reason. Came home to sleeping children and a clean house. His way of showing he loves and cares is through doing things for them, so I guess what he is doing there. Anyway, I walked in and went straight to his room and asked, why did you treat me like crap? Why was he emotionally absent when I most needed him? Why did he kept checking other women, making me feel ugly? Why did he marry me? And why he refused give what I want even after repeated asking? I just poured the questions on him and cried. He tried to touch me and I said, don't ever touch me till you give me all the reasons. I told him lies hurt more than cheating. He just stood there looking at me and said, I can tell, but you are not going to trust me anymore. I assured that I can sense well if it is true or not. He said I have offended him and his family 4 times after he went overseas. He told me about the exact incidents, and I remember it was all about his siblings and mother. I do agree too if it was pretty offensive, and I did not apologize. He says he doesn't know why he is looking at other women. He says he doesn't even realize it. But swears definitely not about my looks. We got nowhere. He is really freaked out that I will go to D. He is really quiet and stays home most of the time. I've been shopping and getting ready to go back to work. We do not talk except very important things pertaining to children. I don't tell him where I go and what I do. He looks depressed. His mother arrived unannounced with his brother this afternoon, and I did not come out of my room. They were barely there for 5 minutes, and I heard him say that he has an appointment and apologize to his brother. They left quietly. I'm sure she won't be coming again. His gadgets were still with me, so he seems to be sleeping more. I haven't slept well the last 3 days. Managed to check everything that I know. Nothing more. Have returned his phone and laptop. He took the phone, but the laptop is lying on the dining table. Checked his FB and he has not checked it at all. More friend requests and some messages from his close friend asking how he is and asking him to call back. I managed to find the family of 2 of his colleagues who are currently cheating and informed them whatever I know. One is the wife of a 40-year-old man and another is teenage daughter of a man in late 40s maybe. He doesn't know that. I used my FB to message them. I just feel like puking to look at his female colleagues' pictures and post on FB. How can he work with such women and not share that with me? That is enough cheating for me. I'm sure he knows I'm up to no good, but he is not showing it. I'm thinking of messaging some of his colleagues to get some info. All I need is truth and some clarifications of incidents without blaming me. I don't see that. Who will not be paranoid if they come to know that their spouse has been working such an environment while you are finding it hard to connect? He has changed his FB password. When questioned, he says he doesn't want me to ruin his colleagues by messaging them about affairs. He says it's not our place to do that and that not all wives are desperate to find out. He feels some already knew but turning a blind eye. I told him his colleagues ruined their lives, not me. I told him I'm still not 100% convinced of his stories. If he can risk his wife's anger to protect his ex-colleagues, he will go to any extent to protect his own bottom. I flipped and trashed all our wedding albums, his first gift to me, our marriage cert. I was just so angry. I left for evening, and when I came back the things I trashed were gone. He has picked them back from bin outside. I'm feeling much better but not fully okay. Sunday night I was crying in my room and have forgotten to close the door. H came in and hugged me. He said he is so angry with himself for hurting me. He held me tight and apologized repeatedly. He He kept kissing my forehead and cheeks. I lost it and cried more and more. Then had slept together. I never wanted to do this, but I did. It was passionate like it used to be during our first year. It felt good just cuddling with him. When I woke up this morning, it felt weird, like I have been tricked. I don't feel miserable anymore, but feel ashamed of myself for not being strong. I told him that I was very emotional and thanked him for his love, but told him that nothing changes and I still am not sure what my decision will be. He said that whatever I decide, he is okay, but he will never give up perusing me. He said that he is confident that he will earn my trust and love again. He seems to be happy, but I feel weird to face him. BTW, we did the STD test and all good. Did I mess up? I was just honest about my feelings and I did miss him. Final update. Nothing much has changed. He is back at home in his own room. I have started work and he may start soon. We don't talk to each other. I'm completely ignoring him. He cooks and cleans, takes care of children till I come, goes out after that, or locks himself in his room. Nil came this evening and I left them with kids and stayed in my room. No one is talking about the dinosaur in the room. I'm just not interested. I feel angry from time to time but try and distract myself. Looks like he thinks time will help him rug sweep easily. I don't want a D because of many reasons, but I also won't put up with his crap, so basically, I'm still thinking of a plan that will work. I went for the IC and didn't told the therapist, all in a short summary without many emotions. The therapist feels he needs therapy and want to see us both next week. When is he starting work? It looks like he is going to try and wait you out. He doesn't seem to be man enough to sit you down and open up to you and genuinely try to make amends. Maybe he doesn't know how. It might be good to consider MC after your IC. After your IC, you will be more stable and able to identify the issues in your marriage that led to this and the areas you want to cover. MC will give you a safe environment to express your emotions about everything that has happened since the move to and from overseas. Depending on his responses, you can then decide better if you will be in the marriage or just live as roommates. I hope that the pain you feel will lessen with time.